Every now and then, a coin that looks completely ordinary turns out to be something far more interesting. It might be sitting in a drawer, in a forgotten jar, or mixed into pocket change without anyone realizing what it truly represents. That's where today's first coin comes in. It's small, familiar, and part of everyday US currency, yet one very rare version of it has gained attention from serious collectors across the country. We're starting with the 1967 Roosevelt dime, a coin that many people have handled without a second thought, but one special example has surprised collectors with an exceptional rarity that sets it apart from the millions of others produced that same year. The background of this coin begins in a time when the United States Mint was operating under unusual conditions. During the mid-1960s, the country faced a widespread coin shortage, and the mint needed to keep coins circulating smoothly. To help control collecting habits that were believed to contribute to the shortage, mint marks were removed from all circulating coins from 1965 through 1967. That means every dime made in 1967, regardless of which facility struck it, carries no mint mark. Beneath that simplicity, the 1967 dime holds a level of interest that few people expect. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946, had recently undergone a significant change in composition before the 1967 issue. Earlier dimes were 90% silver, but starting in 1965, the mint replaced the silver content with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This shift was part of a nationwide effort to move away from precious metal coinage due to rising silver prices. By 1967, the mint was still adjusting to the updated layering process and the higher production speeds required as millions of coins were being made. For most people, a 1967 dime looks like nothing special. The date is common, the composition is typical for modern dimes, and the lack of a mint mark makes it blend in with countless pieces from the mid-1960s. Yet collectors know that rare varieties can emerge from even the plainest years. The 1967 SMS, Special Mint Set, coins, for example, are known for their distinct finish. While these sets are common overall, high-grade examples with strong cameo contrast have become increasingly appealing to collectors. But the coin at the center of this discussion did not become valuable because of an SMS finish or a standard high-grade strike. Its rarity comes from an unexpected minting error, one of those events that happens only when several factors align. While the U.S. Mint aims for consistency, during mass production it is possible for a coin to be created under unusual circumstances. The 1967 dime that drew national attention featured an error so uncommon and so well preserved that it stood out once identified. Mint errors occur for various reasons. Sometimes a coin is struck slightly off-center. Other times the dies slip or twist, causing doubling or distortion. A planchet might be missized, misshaped, or composed of the wrong metal. These occurrences are typically caught during inspection, but occasionally a coin with a rare mistake slips through the system. When one of these flawed coins is later found in excellent condition, it becomes something very few collectors ever have the chance to see. The standout 1967 dime achieved its status because it combined a noteworthy mint error with exceptional preservation. The coin was certified at a remarkably high grade by a leading grading service, and its surfaces showed minimal imperfections. For a coin of this era, especially one tied to a minting error, such condition is extremely challenging to find. Most mint errors weaken a coin structure or expose it to extra handling, so finding both qualities in a single piece makes a strong impression on the numismatic market. As the coin moved toward auction, specialists recognized its scarcity. Modern coins, particularly those from the 1960s, rarely achieve values that compete with older silver or gold issues. However, in numismatics, rarity can outweigh age, and unusual features can elevate modern coins far beyond their face value. When a coin offers both rarity and top-tier condition, it enters a category that appeals not only to collectors but also to high-level investors. Once the 1967 dime reached auction, it drew attention from collectors who understood its importance. While the dime is familiar to everyone in the United States, this one had the kind of attributes that take it from everyday object to notable rarity. Bidding interest grew as more collectors recognized what the coin represented, an unexpectedly scarce survivor from a year most people overlook. The final selling price reflected a combination of rarity, quality, and collector demand. This coin serves as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable discoveries are the ones that seem ordinary at first glance. A dime minted more than 5 decades ago, during a year when coinage was mass-produced and mint marks were temporarily removed, has become a prime example of how unpredictability shapes the world of coin collecting. The sharpest eyes and careful hobbyists understand that hidden treasures can appear where they're least expected. As this coin changed hands and began its new chapter in a private collection, it left behind a clear message: never assume that a modern coin cannot hold significant value. While most 1967 dimes are simply worth 10 cents, a very rare few will always stand out due to the right combination of circumstances at the mint and careful preservation over time. Anyone sorting through old coins or inherited collections might someday come across their own surprising find. And now, the value of the exceptional 1967 Roosevelt dime that captured widespread collector interest. This remarkable example, preserved in outstanding condition and known for its extremely rare error, reached a final price of $121,000. Up next, we have the 2000 P Roosevelt dime, a coin that blends in so easily with everyday change that most people would never pause to look at it twice. But among the billions produced that year, a very small group stands out for a very different reason: how unusually well they survived. Even though the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of dimes in 2000, most of them followed the same rough path. They were counted in bulk, dropped into large transport bags, stacked, moved, and stored with thousands of other coins. This normal handling leaves the kind of small marks that collectors quickly recognize. For a modern coin, those marks are enough to prevent it from ever reaching the upper levels of grading. What makes the rare examples interesting is the way they escaped all of that typical contact. Instead of picking up the usual tiny nicks and scrapes, a select few show surfaces that are both clean and bright. These exceptional coins appear as though they were set aside long before they ever had a chance to pick up the flaws that most coins acquire within minutes of being struck. Collectors quickly notice how inconsistent the quality can be on dimes from this year. Even brand new rolls often contain pieces with duller luster, small contact points, or softly struck details. Many 2000 P dimes show weakness around the finer lines in Roosevelt's hair or around the lettering, an issue that can prevent them from reaching the top grades no matter how nice the surfaces look at first glance. That's why the highest-end survivors stand out so much. On the best examples, the portrait shows crisp lines, the edges are sharp, and the fields, the flat areas of the coin, remain smooth and reflective. These coins display a consistency and clarity that are unusual for a mass-produced modern dime, making them sought after by collectors who understand just how difficult that level of preservation is to find. Condition rarity plays the biggest role here. It doesn't matter that over 1 billion were minted. What matters is how few exist without the normal abrasions. Most 2000 P dimes, even uncirculated ones, show enough marks to hold them back from the elite grades. Only a small number rise to the top, making them far more desirable. Many collectors specializing in modern coins search through rolls and bags hoping to find one of these superior examples. But the reality is that very few surfaces from this minting year meet the standards required for the highest classifications. The difference between a typical uncirculated dime and one of these standout pieces can come down to just a handful of tiny marks that most people would never notice without magnification. The small population of these top-level coins is what drives their interest and value. When so many coins were made, yet so few remain in pristine condition, the finest examples become important to those building high-quality modern sets. These collectors look for uniform brilliance, strong detail, and surfaces that show no major interruptions. Another factor is the way these coins were saved. Many of the finest examples weren't intentionally preserved. Some were accidentally set aside in original bank rolls, stored in drawers, or kept as part of small personal collections without ever entering circulation. Years later, they reappear in surprising condition, sometimes cleaner and more visually appealing than most coins of the same date that were handled far more carefully. Because the 2000 P dime wasn't issued as part of a special set and wasn't given any special treatment at the mint, the few examples that survived in such exceptional shape stand out even more. There was no program encouraging people to save them. No limited release. No controlled packaging. Their rarity today is simply the result of chance. Collectors pay close attention to coins like this because they show how modern issues can still produce unexpected finds. Even a very common date can become noteworthy when only a handful of the best examples exist. And unlike older coins where rarity often comes from age or low mint numbers, the rarity here comes entirely from condition, how perfectly the coin survived its earliest moments. As more collectors focus on condition-based sets, standout pieces like the top-end 2000 P dime continue to gain attention. They represent the best of an enormous production run, and that difference is what puts them in a category far above the everyday examples people are used to seeing. The appeal of this coin comes from its simplicity. There's nothing unusual about the design or the year. It becomes special only when examined closely, under proper lighting, where the clarity of the strike and the smoothness of the surfaces show just how uncommon a flawless 2000 P dime truly is. And while most examples remain worth face value, the finest survivors, those few coins with exceptional preservation, reach an entirely different level. That limited supply, combined with growing interest from collectors who seek the best possible examples of modern dates, is what elevates the coin's worth. These top-end examples continue to be recognized as some of the finest modern condition pieces available. Collectors who have seen them in person often point out that the difference in quality is noticeable immediately. The surfaces carry a level of smoothness that stands apart from typical uncirculated pieces. And because only a small number have ever reached this caliber, they remain quietly respected within the hobby. Each one represents a rare instance of a common coin surviving in uncommon condition. So, for the 2000 P Roosevelt dime in top-tier condition, the value can be surprisingly high. A standout example at the highest known grade has reached $41,000. Now let's move on to the 2001 D Roosevelt dime, a coin that most people have likely held at some point without thinking much about it. On the surface, it appears like any other dime from circulation, but among the millions produced at the Denver Mint that year, only a very small fraction have survived in exceptional condition. These few coins are what collectors pay attention to because they stand apart from the vast majority in both preservation and detail. Production at the Denver Mint in 2001 was extremely high, and that pace is reflected in the general population of dimes. Many of these coins show the usual signs of contact, even if they never officially entered circulation. Bulk handling during storage, bagging, and transport left tiny abrasions, faint scuffs, or marks on the flat fields. Even pieces that remained in rolls can display small imperfections that prevent them from achieving the highest grades. This makes coins that avoided such marks immediately noticeable to serious collectors. The rare top-quality examples from this year show a combination of factors that set them apart. Their fields are smooth and reflective, with luster that is consistent across the coin. The portrait of Roosevelt appears crisp, with clearly defined hairlines and facial details, and the lettering is sharply struck. These coins often appear more visually balanced and proportionally clear than the majority of 2001 D dimes, giving them an elegance uncommon for a modern business strike coin. Strike quality is another distinguishing feature. While many dimes from 2001 have slight softness in the finer details, the elite examples exhibit full detail. Roosevelt's hair, ear, and facial contours, along with the reverse inscriptions and torch, are sharp and well-defined. This clarity is particularly important for modern collectors because the difference between an average uncirculated coin and one of these standout examples is often subtle but meaningful under magnification. Surface preservation is equally critical. The majority of 2001 D dimes picked up contact points or minor scratches from the mint's handling and storage processes. High-end survivors, however, avoided most of these issues. Some may have been set aside by early collectors or inadvertently preserved in unopened rolls or small collections. These circumstances allowed a tiny number of coins to escape the wear and small abrasions that would otherwise reduce their grade. Collectors who focus on modern dates recognize how rare these superior examples are. Even among uncirculated coins, finding a 2001 D dime with smooth, flawless fields and strong luster is exceedingly difficult. The population of coins meeting these standards is extremely low, which is why they carry a premium in the collector market. With the Denver Mint producing such large quantities, the rarity of the finest condition examples lies entirely in their survival rather than any limitation on production. Searching for these coins can be unpredictable. Two rolls of dimes from the same bank can yield completely different results, with one containing mostly average coins and the other possibly holding a single exceptional specimen. Because the number of high-grade survivors is so small, the hunt for them requires both patience and luck. For collectors who build high-grade modern sets, finding even one 2001 D dime of this quality is a notable achievement. Another factor adding to their appeal is the understated nature of the coin's rarity. Unlike older or more historical coins, there was no special release or commemorative packaging for the 2001 D dime. Its scarcity at the top end is purely a matter of survival and preservation. The few coins that escaped handling, contact, and were now represent some of the finest examples of modern condition dimes available today. These coins also illustrate how modern coin collecting has shifted in focus. Where older dates often rely on limited mintages or historical significance, modern coins like the 2001 D demonstrate the importance of condition. In a world of millions of otherwise common coins, the best preserved examples stand out not because they are rare in number, but because they are rare in quality. That distinction makes them particularly sought after by specialists. Because of the combination of low population in the top grades, the clarity of the strike, and the smooth, unmarked surfaces, the 2001 D Roosevelt dime commands attention among collectors of modern coins. They are quietly valued for their condition rarity rather than their age or mintage. And while most coins from this year remain at face value, the few that survive in exceptional form achieve a markedly higher status. Instead of stating the value immediately, it's worth considering just how significant a high-quality example of this coin is. Among the rare coins that meet the strictest grading standards, a top-tier 2001 D dime has been assigned a value that many would find surprising. To put it in words, this remarkable coin has been valued at $37,000. So next time you sort through coins, don't overlook a 2001 D Roosevelt dime. Even among everyday coins, some of the very best examples have quietly survived, waiting for collectors to recognize their true significance. Take the time to look closely at the luster and the fields. A coin that seems ordinary at first could reveal sharp detail and smooth surfaces when examined under proper light. It's these subtle qualities that separate a typical dime from one that belongs to the very top tier of preservation. Remember, condition matters more than age or rarity when it comes to modern coins. A well-preserved 2001 D dime could easily be worth far more than many older coins simply because it survived with such exceptional quality. Moving on to the 2018 D Roosevelt dime, this coin may look familiar at first glance, but take a closer look, and you'll notice details that set it apart from the rest. Struck at the Denver Mint, it carries the small D mark that tells us exactly where it was produced, a subtle yet important detail for collectors and enthusiasts alike. At first glance, it might seem like just another dime, but there's a story hidden in its tiny features, a story that only careful observation can reveal. One of the first things that stands out on this coin is the crispness of Roosevelt's profile. The lines in his hair, the curve of his jaw, the sharpness of his eye, these details can vary slightly from coin to coin, depending on the quality of the strike. For the 2018 D, Denver achieved a particularly clean impression, which means that collectors often seek out examples where every detail remains sharp and untouched. Even the tiniest imperfection, like a faint scratch or a mark from circulation, can change the character of this coin, making a pristine specimen all the more exciting. Flip the coin over, and the reverse design demands attention. The torch, olive branch, and oak branch seem almost alive in high-quality examples, each line and ridge reflecting the careful pressure from the minting press. What's fascinating about this particular 2018 Denver strike is how the details sometimes pop in different lighting. Hold it at an angle, and the contours of the torch seem to cast shadows, highlighting the meticulous artistry. This is a coin that rewards careful examination, whether under a magnifying glass or in natural sunlight. Collectors will also want to pay attention to potential anomalies. While the 2018 Roosevelt dime was minted in large numbers, subtle errors or unusual characteristics can occur during production. Die scratches, tiny doubling of the lettering, or even a faint misalignment can make a coin stand out. Nothing on the surface may suggest it at first, but for those willing to look carefully, these small quirks can turn an ordinary dime into a conversation piece or a prized specimen in a collection. Condition plays a huge role in the appeal of this coin. A 2018 Roosevelt dime that has been handled gently, stored away from harsh environments, and kept free from scratches or discoloration will always capture attention. Its luster, the reflective sheen on its surfaces, is something that immediately signals quality. Even minor differences in the way light interacts with the metal can distinguish one coin from another, and collectors often find themselves comparing specimens to spot the most flawless examples. What's also interesting is the way these coins tell a story of their journey. While many 2018 dimes were circulated and carried in wallets, some found their way into protective rolls or albums, emerging years later almost untouched. Examining such a coin is like peeking into a moment frozen in time, a testament to careful handling and a bit of luck. The thrill of spotting a nearly perfect 2018 dime among everyday coins is part of what makes collecting so addictive. Even without rare errors, this coin can be noteworthy simply because of its strike quality. Some examples show incredibly sharp detail on the edges, on the rim, and in the lettering, making it a visually satisfying piece for those who appreciate craftsmanship. Others may exhibit minor surface anomalies that, while not mistakes, create a unique character, giving each coin its own personality. That uniqueness is part of the allure, encouraging collectors to look closely and appreciate the subtle differences. If you're inspecting a 2018 Roosevelt dime, take your time. Look at the details around Roosevelt's profile, check the torch and branches for definition, and observe the coin's overall luster and surface. Even the tiniest imperfection or rare characteristic can make it a coin worth setting aside for further evaluation. In other words, don't rush. Sometimes the most valuable examples are hiding in plain sight, tucked away in a drawer, a pocket, or a roll of dimes waiting to be discovered. Ultimately, the 2018 Roosevelt dime is a coin that rewards attention and care. Its appeal is subtle yet undeniable. Whether it's the precision of the strike, the brightness of its surfaces, or the possibility of a rare anomaly, this is a coin that invites collectors to pause and really look. Its significance doesn't lie in being flashy or widely talked about, it lies in its details, the kind of details that can make a careful observer pause and say, "This one is special." So next time you encounter a 2018 Roosevelt dime, take a moment to examine it closely. Study the profile, trace the branches, observe the light dancing on its surfaces. Check for any unusual marks or quirks that could set it apart. This coin, though small, carries a quiet significance, and if you handle it with care, it could become a noteworthy addition to any collection. In the world of coins, the beauty is often in the details, and this Denver strike from 2018 is a perfect example. Thanks for being part of this journey. Your support means a lot to us and keeps us motivated to bring you more exciting coin content. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment with your thoughts or questions. We love hearing from fellow collectors. Be sure to keep watching for daily updates as we uncover more hidden gems and interesting coins. Who knows? Your next treasure might be just around the corner. As always, happy collecting and happy hunting, and we'll see you next time.